As we continue our discussion on value innovation, we're going to explore the question of what existing factors can you eliminate. And with that, it's going to give us some context of thinking about how to be more competitive and more differentiated as we climb that value curve. This is our first element that we'll examine as we dive into value innovation. So where to start? It's certainly easier said than done, and there's certainly the concern about eliminating something that truly matters to customers. So that's the first sub-question that we aim to answer, is are there factors offered by competitors that are not truly valuable for the customers that we indeed target and aim to serve? From there, if we can identify those elements, we can determine what adds value and where to focus our energy and resources, and give us the opportunity to deliver a faster and/or better and/or cheaper solution that really aligns with what our customers want and that may lessen the value of certain competitive features, relationships, brands, etc. So we're going to take a brief preview of a circus and a new type of circus that you may not be familiar with. So what you've seen here is Cirque du Soleil, which you may be familiar with. Perhaps you've seen them on a touring show in the US or abroad. They've been very popular in Las Vegas for the last 20 years. But it's something that still not a lot of people are familiar with, and not a lot of people are familiar with the value curve in this context. Now what we've seen is that Cirque du Soleil made a conscious decision to eliminate certain things. And we'll talk about what some of those elements are momentarily. But what we want to recognize is if you are able to identify factors to eliminate, you can save the expenses of money and time. You can reinvest those resources into factors that do add true value for customers. And when we map this to the circus market, we'll take a step back and think about what has the circus been for over 100 years. Well, it's been reasonably affordable, and more of a family outing. It's had star performers. Animals have been a feature, as have aisle concessions in the multiple arenas, the three-ring circus, if you will, where something is going on within each ring in parallel. Clowns and fun and humor have always been a part of it, as have some element of thrills and danger. What we've seen with Cirque du Soleil, as illustrated by the blue line, is they have reduced most of these factors. They've done away with the star performers. They've done away with animals. They've done away with aisle concessions and multiple show arenas. They still deliver fun, they still deliver thrill, but they've added new elements of theme and very refined experiences and multiple productions. So there may be a dozen or 24 Cirque du Soleil shows going on nationally and internationally at any given point in time. And it's very much an artistic, a music, a dance experience. Different than a circus in many ways. They've changed the value curve. And it started by eliminating many of what we would perceive to be the basic or the traditional elements. Now in that application, they've created a whole new type of entertainment, a whole new type of experience. They've reinvented the structurally unattractive circus industry and changed those competitive dynamics. They've also challenged convention and have dared to do things differently and have been successful in doing that. They have changed the customer While the traditional circus would target families and specifically children, they have changed that entirely. If you take a child, particularly a young child, to a Cirque du Soleil performance, they will likely not enjoy it. It will be awkward and weird, perhaps scary for many younger children. It's clearly aimed at more of an adult audience. What we see is that with this focus on adults, they have different needs, they have different wants, they have different willingness to pay. And you'll see that the ticket prices for a Cirque du Soleil performance might be double or triple or quadruple what your traditional Barnum and Bailey circus would be. So in that way, again, a different market, a different feature, a different experience, and a very different price point that might align more so with a Broadway show. What we see too is that by differentiating that customer, it's helped them understand what to eliminate. They've shifted away from the animals, the candies, the feature performers. They've shifted to something that looks more like live theater, like Broadway, like opera or popular music experiences. And so in summary, when we think about this element of eliminating factors, we want to recognize that this is step one, that it requires an understanding and perhaps a redefinition of the customer and thinking about who are your target customers, what are the competitive dynamics of your industry, and how might you adapt and change that and decide what not to do for the customer that you aim to serve. Going forward, we'll talk about step two of value innovation, and next time we'll talk about reducing these factors.